When did you stop trusting the news?
Most powerful thing we haven't used, the Insurrection Act.
Was it when they told you the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation? Was it when they said the border was secure?
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open.
More than 50 migrants with potential ties to an ISIS-affiliated smuggling network.
Or maybe when they spent 4 years trying to take down a president while completely ignoring actual corruption happening right under their noses. The numbers don't lie. Trust in mainstream media just hit an all-time low of around 28%, and I even doubt that. Nearly 80% of Americans now believe the legacy media is more interested in pushing narratives than reporting facts. And nowhere is that more obvious than what just happened in Minnesota and what just happened in Venezuela. While CNN, MSNBC, and the rest of the legacy media, that entire machine, spent countless hours obsessing over President Trump's every tweet, every rally, every move, trying to desperately paint him as the villain, they're ignoring the real villain that was caught and brought back to the United States for trial, for justice. They have completely buried a massive story of fraud and corruption in their own backyard, and also a huge win for the people in Venezuela and the United States military. Tim Walz is holding a press conference today, and it looks like he's going to resign or at least step down from running for re-election. But you probably didn't hear about that from them. And I'll ask you why, and then I'll give you my opinion. Because it wasn't the news media. This was all caused by independent journalists with a camera, with an iPhone, with a microphone, and they were just out doing the work that the New York Times, the Washington Compost, and all these other mainstream legacy media apparatuses refused to do. This was citizen reporting, alternative media, and people asking questions that the establishment has refused to ask. The story they didn't want you to know is finally coming out, and it proves exactly why Americans have abandoned legacy media for good. Here's what they've been hiding, and we're going to start off with one of the worst examples of legacy media.
When you think about what the United States just did, I think there are very few Americans right now who have any idea why the United States did this.
Do you like this? This is Rachel Maddow. I won't subdue you with too much of this, but MSNBC, she's having a meltdown because Trump just saved America from what's happening in Venezuela, actually saving American lives. And Rachel Maddow refuses to acknowledge the actual win by the administration, and in turn spins this as Donald Trump is horrible, while ignoring the fact that under the Biden administration, the $25 million bounty was put on Maduro's head. And that's why Maduro was also brought back to the Southern District of New York, is because that's where the bounty was placed. That's where this was all started. Do I want Maduro to go anywhere near New York? Absolutely not. There's too many liberal judges there that play politics the same way that MSNBC does. Now, another thing that the liberal news media is ignoring is this little Craigslist ad in Minneapolis, where they are offering $1,500 a day to help hurry the state vetting process, is what it says. A Minneapolis Craigslist post in search of child actors to go and pretend that they are part of the daycare. I'll put the link in the description of the video down below. This was found by independent media, not the actual news media, not the legacy media that many of you are paying for indirectly with your cable bill, and you have no choice. This is another story, and I am really glad to see the New York Post covering this. One of the, I would say, best conservative or independent thinking news media outlets, And they're saying that Tim Walz today is going to hold a press conference and drop his reelection bid. You see the image down in the bottom. This is Nick Shirley, what I would say one of the up-and-coming independent journalists. He's about 23 years old. I think I don't think he's married. I think he travels a lot with his mom, and she's actually his camera woman. But they're doing the work that the legacy media refuses. Once again, independent journalism, I would say thanks to Elon Musk and also X, we're winning, they're losing, and this is on perfect display.
You know that Portland, we got it down to almost no crime. Do you know that? But we pulled it out. We had a Supreme Court decision. We can go back. We're allowed to go back in, but we'll go back in when the crime starts. Look, the crime will soon start because they now know that we're out. And at the appropriate time, we'll go back in, and we may, if we're allowed to. Most powerful thing we haven't used the Insurrection Act.
You're considering using the insurrection?
I've always considered it, but.
So Donald Trump here on Air Force One, traveling back to Washington, D.C. after a great weekend, a great start to the new year at Mar-a-Lago, says here, the most powerful thing that we haven't used is the Insurrection Act. And I think he's right. All of these crime-ridden cities, this has been just a little dip into the iceberg, little, couple of toes in the water to check the temperature. Portland, Seattle, Minneapolis, Chicago, New York City. And Trump is saying he's still got the Trump card that he can play, which is the Insurrection Act. The news media, mainstream legacy media, will not cover this. This is on the Rapid Response X page, which is ran by the White House. This is the way that they are communicating to average American voters, and it's probably become more effective than using the actual legacy media. This is another disgusting display of what the news media won't cover. This is the actual mayor of Minneapolis dancing at a Somali rally while billions of dollars are allegedly, used for something wrong. This is an independent journalist that posted this to X. Libs of TikTok grabbed it and propagated the formula to get it further out. But you won't see CNN or MSNBC posting this because it destroys their narrative. And for something like, look at all the American flags. That's so beautiful there, isn't it? I don't even know where some of those flags are, but to see the mayor of Minneapolis dancing like this on the cusp of all of the fraud that's being exposed should be very alarming to everyone. Look at all the American flags. It's really stunning how American this rally looks. It really is, huh? Let you hear a little bit of that. Oh yeah, I see a lot of the American flags there. Wow, that's disgusting, isn't it? Wow. Wouldn't it be nice for the mayor of Minneapolis to dance like that, celebrating the efforts of independent news journalists, independent media, exposing all the frauds, saving money for the taxpayers? That'll probably never happen, but damn, that would be a really crazy move.
Good morning from outside the Minnesota governor's mansion. It's about 4 o'clock in the morning. Trump rally music blasting in the background as all eyes are on the chimney of the Minnesota governor's mansion, awaiting for the smoke to rise, which means that a new retard has been selected. Tim Walz expected to drop out of the gubernatorial race.
That's Nick Sorter outside of the governor's mansion in Minnesota at 4:19 in the morning, about an hour ago. It's a little after 5 o'clock in the morning here. So he's rocking and rolling, rocking some Lee Greenwood and waiting for the smoke to rise, the same way that they pick a new pope. And I think this is how legacy media is failing. And this is how the independent journalists like Nick are continuing to help the American people. I'm no journalist. I would never consider myself that. And especially in the same league as Nick Sorter.
in place. The defense minister, who has deep ties to Russia, $15 million price on his head, he is still in place. I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people.
Do you like the faux outrage by Face the Nation, Margaret Brennan? She brings up these 5 other Venezuelan criminals that have, bounties on their head. Why are they still in power? And meanwhile, mainstream legacy media, Rachel Maddow, all these other bad actors, are criticizing the Trump administration for just getting the dictator and his wife. The faux outrage, the double standard, is beyond my comprehension. Because an operation like that, and that's what Secretary of State Marco Rubio was bringing up, is that an operation as flawless as it was, to go and find 5 other of these bad actors at the same time, this makes Ethan Hawke, or Ethan Hunt maybe, with Mission Impossible and James Bond, look like rookies. And I think it's great to see, once again, the double standards shown to you, the American people, by the legacy media.
But I kind of liked it when she did this. Turn the page. You like that? Okay, so I need you to be with me and practice with me. What are we going to do? We're going to turn the page. Oh, pretty good. Do it again. We're going to turn the page. And we're going to turn the page.
I think we're turning the page on the trust that Americans have with the mainstream news. And this is such a fitting clip from the Minnesota governor's wife, the same lady that loved the smell of burning tires in the morning, because Minnesota is turning the page on this failed governor. And hopefully they elect someone with a little bit of experience. I hope they elect Mike Lindell. This video will probably get limited just by me mentioning his name, but he is running for governor of Minnesota. I don't know how much faith I have in the people in Minnesota because they elected this guy. Do you think they're suddenly going to wake up with a little bit of common sense? Stranger things have happened, but damn, it would be an interesting ride.
It's Democrats who have put Somali diaspora in Minneapolis at the center of their party and their state's politics. It's a small portion of the population. There is a bunch of fraud that goes on. And even Tim Walz has claimed that any investigation of this fraud is akin to white supremacy.
No,
which
he
is
hasn't. No, he has not claimed that. He has not said that.
He has said that.
He has not said that.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy.
The same old song and dance from the mainstream news is over. Time is up. The lights are on. It's time to go home. When they use white supremacy, fascism, racism, all this stuff as their go-to excuse for anyone that exposes them or the people that they're covering for, now we're starting to recognize this. This doesn't work anymore. And for some reason, they haven't figured it out yet. Maybe their ratings dropping will help them figure it out. Guys, I really want to say thank you for tuning in this morning. I'm not a journalist. My name's Ben. I'm just a retired submarine guy that has become so frustrated with mainstream legacy media that I grabbed a camera. I started with my iPhone, talking with my dogs in the backyard, sitting on a hay bale. And I have tried to continuously expose the hypocrisy, the outrage, the faux outrage that the news media is trying to sell you. And so many of you have started to notice the pattern. And once you notice the pattern, you understand why it matters, why it's happening, and how they continue to use the same tactics. They are a one-punch fighter. That's it. The mainstream news is finished. We're winning. They're losing. They know it because they can't fool you anymore because there are too many people like me, much better than me, that are showing you the exact same thing from different angles. 2026 has started out to be a wild ride. Nicolas Maduro, $50 million bounty on his head, is caught. He's in New York. He's going to be arraigned today. They're going to charge him, make formal charges. The Biden administration started this. I don't think a judge can suddenly wipe all that off the table right now. I hope he gets everything he deserves. I hope he squeals like a pig and tells us a little bit about the Smartmatic and maybe some of those other voting machines that Venezuela has had rumored, alleged ties to. Thank you for watching. Smash the like and subscribe button. Go check out my other channel. It's called The Fence Sitter. It's a little less refined, I'll say. And it's usually out in the cold, but it's too cold this morning. I'll see you in the next one.
I want to be very clear. Our borders are not open.